It was a cold Christmas Eve, even though it actually wasn't, and Dan and his friends wanted to quit, as they were scrambling to finish their Christmas gifts. And I realize now, this rhyme isn't it. But anywho, they were all together, Dan, Josh, and Drew. Only their friend John Penny was trapped in college's schoolversity, and unable to be ready. They still pushed forward, wanting to make a good Christmas. With so little time left, they were getting quite frustrated, I bet.
Okay, come on guys, we gotta finish this. John's not even gonna be here, and we gotta try and at least make this an extra special Christmas. We have no gifts wrapped so far. It's the 24th on Christmas Eve.
Yeah, you're right. It's for John. We just gotta make it happen. I'm going as fast as I can.
And done! Yes! Present wrapped! How many presents are we at now, Drew?
One. Make that 0.
Can you please explain to me how we have
0.
0 presents?
Hey man, you're the one that procrastinated so much. I mean, why'd you wait until Christmas Eve anyway?
Okay, Drew. Well, for your information, I was really busy.
Hey man, you're not even paying us or anything like that.
What are you talking about? I even bought you guys the color hat you wanted.
Yeah, I asked for brown. This is Guys, let's calm down. Take some deep breaths and think this through, okay? You know, usually in Christmas specials like this one, there's a moral to the story or some sort of lesson to be learned. Anybody have any ideas?
Yeah, usually something like a book, a movie, a zebra. Yes! Yes! Whoa!
Yeah, you got the sun, beaches, tans. This could be a great winter-themed game to look on.
Okay, yeah, Super Mario Sunshine, the perfect Christmas game for us to remember what it is we need to do. Let's do it!
Sounds like a great idea, Dan.
Ooh! Alright, Super Mario Sunshine. Here we go.
Hey, aren't you forgetting something, Dan?
Oh yeah, you're right. Skadoosh. Wow! Ugh. Oh, hey, it worked.
Everything in life, be it people, places, experiences, objects, is almost definitely a product of circumstance in some way, shape, or form. Be it the type of house you grew up in, the occupation you may have, smart people making a bad decision from various factors. All the time in life, things will happen that shake up your expectations for better or worse, from all types of scenarios. Be it the time in your life something happened, the circumstances a product released in, the A+ kid making a B one time from strict deadline, Super Mario Sunshine!
The ultimate love it or hate it Mario experience, with so many ranges of polarizing opinions to this very day. I mean, this was the Mario game to succeed Super Mario 64. Yeah, there was a lot riding on this game in 2002 to put it lightly. From back then to today still, this is the most divisive mainline Mario game ever, and certainly the strangest Mario game out of all of them. The one time Nintendo outright rushed a 3D Mario game to shelves. The one Mario game with extensive voice acting. The one Mario game that is strangely janky and glitchy for the series' usually high standards. And yet, I still love this game to death. I mean, this was literally the first game I ever played.
It all started in early 2007. I was just barely 4 years old. I remember my dad fighting Gooper Blooper in Rico Harbor. After he beat him, he gave me the controller, told me to walk up to the shine, and simply press A. It sounds so simple, but this was my first gaming experience, and one of the very, very earliest memories I have in my life. I mean, let's be honest here, guys. We can all agree, none of us usually remember anything before the age of 4. Or maybe 3. So this, and a little bit of my 4th birthday party, are my very first memories. This game always stuck with me, even when I wasn't the one playing. The vibrant colors, the tropical setting, just the scale of this game to me at the time always blew me away. This was my first video game love, and that was before Mario Galaxy came into my life, and that game just, oh my god. Super Mario Sunshine and Super Mario Galaxy, these two games, along with a few of the 3D Zelda games, pretty much solidified my interest in the whole medium of video games to begin with, and taught me the power of what video games could be, at least for me. Being transported to a different world, filled with whatever developers could imagine, always blew my mind, even today. If it wasn't for these two games, I genuinely don't think all of this, and this, and this would be here today. Look, I love Super Mario 64. I talked all about it in that video, but in short, I think that game is pretty great for its time, and still great today, despite the rough patches here and there from the 3D transition. But I also didn't play that game until after Sunshine and Galaxy, and didn't know about Mario's overall history yet either. Therefore, while I love Mario 64, I love Sunshine and Galaxy, as well as the rest of the 3D games more. And that's not a bad thing. Every sequel and new thing is always designed to be better than the last in some way, shape, or form. Or at least should be. But man, even today, I find Super Mario Sunshine such a massive jump from 64, especially recently after playing them back to back. This game, for all its problems, and don't worry, I'm gonna discuss everything, is still a huge step up from Super Mario 64 to me. I have played this game at some point in my life pretty much every year my whole life. In fact, I have played this game every summer to 100% for at least the past 7 years from how much joy I get playing this game. In fact, this is likely my most played Mario game ever. Now, is that because I think nostalgia aside, I think it's actually better than the games that came after?
Is this a good game? God!
Yeah, definitely not. Far from it that. I fully accepted a long time ago that when I look at it purely objectively, there is so much wrong with this game, and that it could have been so much more. But I'm still so drawn to this game. Anyway, today, I hope to explain why this game is the way it is, everything it does well and not so well, and why I still return to this game every year and hold it in such personal high regard. And let's clear up one big misconception real quick. I don't care how much you hate this game, you can't seriously act like this is one of Nintendo's all-time biggest blunders. It is certainly miles better than that, and if you really think that, then what are you playing? Anyway, no more wasting time though. This is Dan of Dan's Game Zone, and this is my retrospective of Super Mario Sunshine. Since 1985, every Nintendo system has had its defining Mario moment, be it 2D or 3D, at or near its launch to show what that console's capable of. Super Mario Bros. On NES, Super Mario World on Super Nintendo, Mario 64 on the 64, and Super Mario Sunshine as the GameCube's Mario game, and the first major Mario game post Mario 64. But before we talk about the game itself, we need to discuss what led to this moment for some players.
This game sucks!
So Super Mario 64 came out and unsurprisingly was a massive success, not just for Mario, but Nintendo as a whole. You all know the story by now. Super Mario 64 made the N64 take off in its launch period. Until it didn't. Yeah, the Nintendo 64 only sold a grand total of 32 million. Not a complete failure by any means, but certainly less than Nintendo's two previous systems of the NES and Super Nintendo, and especially nothing compared to Sony's own PS1 with over 100 million systems sold, leaving the N64 in a continent's length away in second place, with the Sega Saturn coming in dead last. But like the color of the sky, almost everyone knows that by default. Now, why did the Nintendo 64 never get a consistent spark? Well, I believe it's for a couple reasons. First, the game output and third-party relations. Now, some of my favorite games ever are on this bad boy, no denying that, but let's be real here. The Nintendo 64's actual library isn't that expansive. If you look beyond Nintendo's first-party games, you have barely any big third-party games. No Final Fantasy, barely any Resident Evil, literally only 3 RPGs on the entire system, and so on. The second major reason is this thing, the Nintendo 64 disk drive. The 64 disk drive was designed to be attached to the Nintendo 64, allowing for more power for the system, internet access, an internal clock, and most importantly, lots of exclusive games for it. Even Ocarina of Time at one point had plans in the cards involving it. Unfortunately, the Nintendo 64 DD was such a commercial failure in Japan that Nintendo just decided to go back to the drawing board for the next system. Now, why do I bring up the N64 DD in this video? Well, you see, a sequel to Super Mario 64 was planned for the DD titled Super Mario 64 2 that would have featured things like multiplayer with Luigi, But that game was canceled faster than I could finish this sentence. And when you consider the DD released in 1999 and the GameCube came out in 2001, it becomes all the easier to see why the early GameCube games were either lacking in content, pretty short, or rushed altogether. Let's all remember, making any big video game, especially in 3D, can take a long time, which, while I have no actual proof, leads into the idea that they didn't do any work with 3D Mario from 1996 to 2000, or at least that work was wasted to an extent. So much time was wasted on this thing, with so many games planned for it, and trust me, addressing the 64 DD will make much more sense later in this video. But it's a shame to me that even without a ton of hard evidence, I think the DD really hurt Nintendo's software output that generation and into the next. But enough about the DD. Fast forward to late 2001. Ladies and gentlemen, meet the Nintendo GameCube. This is such an amazing system. I will defend it to my dying breath. Such an awesome design, love handles and all, just like me. And not to mention its trusted partner in crime, the GameCube controller. Oh, this controller is so good! I promise, we'll get to this controller soon enough. Anyway, so many amazing games released on this thing. Pikmin 1, Pikmin 2, Zelda the Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, Smash Bros. Melee, Mario Party 4, 5, 6, 7, Donkey Kong Jungle Beat, my dearly beloved, Luigi's Mansion. Well, speaking of, what? Yeah, Luigi's Mansion! A GameCube launch title. What a charming little game. Would I have made it the big Nintendo launch title to compete with the PS2? No. But on its own, this game is fantastic. It's not very long, only clocking in around 4 hours, but very replayable and is so memorable and has stuck with me since me and my dad first played it in 2007. But speaking of launch titles, yeah, Luigi's Mansion, like I said, definitely not the big 3D Mario everyone was expecting at the time. But we did definitely know Mario was coming, because back in Space World 2001, among a variety of other titles shown off for the GameCube, we did get our very first look at Super Mario Sunshine. Now this trailer, even looking back today, is absolutely bananas, showing Mario running around an actual town with buildings and everything, with a strange looking backpack that pumped water, a literal human girl, and whatever this thing is, I don't like this thing. Ending with a release window of summer 2002. This trailer didn't show anything that crazy in my opinion. Well, I mean, that's a lie, because it did show a lot. Like our first look at Piantas, the early version of the hub world I presume, and Mario just looking a lot more mobile and faster than he was in Mario 64. I will say though, when I was 8 or 9, seeing this beta trailer blew my mind. My gumball-sized brain thought I was looking at some kind of Super Mario Sunshine in a parallel universe. Nowadays, I know it's just the beta, but it did lead me into enjoying seeing early elements of games in general. In fact, just to point this out now, Mario Sunshine not only introduced me to the concept of game betas, but introduced me to Let's Plays on YouTube as well. Anyway, I think it's cool to see how things change, and Mario Sunshine led me down that rabbit hole. Between Space World 2001 and E3 2002, a few more screenshots would come out featuring other differences like the backpack being thinner and Gooper Blooper being indigo blackish? But the E3 2002 trailer is quite an enigma in my opinion. Sure, it certainly looks a lot closer to the final game, but there are so many little differences if you look closely, like electric goop in Gelato Beach that never happens in the final game, a falling PD piranha head, green Yoshi being rideable, and a different HUD for your health altogether, among plenty of other things if you look close. This trailer was definitely fine, giving players a better idea of what to expect from the game, outside of some very strange sound effect mixing, especially in Mario's voice.
I'm sorry, one more time?
But keep in mind, this trailer was E3 2002, and when did the game come out? Look, I don't know anything about game development at all, but I gotta be honest, looking back, if there were this many differences between this trailer and the game 2 months later, I feel like something about this trailer seems kinda stinky. Now I have no idea when this trailer was actually made or anything, but this trailer to me always just seemed off. And on another note, as the N64 was winding down into the GameCube generation, so too did it feel like frequent releases of 3D platformers across the whole industry. Don't get me wrong, to this day, there are plenty of high quality 3D platformers to play, but I think releases in that genre did peak in that generation. Now, why did this happen? There could be a few reasons. Some theorize that Donkey Kong 64 began the decline with that game's collectathon problems, and while I still haven't beaten that game yet, I personally don't really believe that. Another idea was just consumers being burned out on 3D platformers, which I also don't really buy in my honest opinion. If anything, I think the most likely culprit was the shift in the gaming market at the time, with the rise of games like Halo. Going into the 6th generation meant consoles had far more power than what came before, and could push boundaries in so many genres. And I think this left Super Mario Sunshine in a bit of an awkward spot, with a lot on its shoulders to boot. But none of that mattered. No one was actually worried, to be sure. Nintendo never rushes their games and always strives for quality over getting the game out. Surely we're in for Mario's next big leap. I mean, it is in my eyes coming off of Mario 64, but to a lot of players, this game, Nintendo, you all over Mario.
So let's not waste any more time. Let's see if Nintendo truly pulled it off.
Looking at this box art, I quite like it. It's nice and colorful, and in case you're wondering, all this text written on the box is by the Charles Martinet that I got signed last year. Anyway, yeah, the text in the circle I always try to read. It's colorful and shiny, gets the job done. Though something to point out, contrary to the rest of the series box arts, this is like the one box art where Mario looks pissed. Like seriously, why is he so mad? What, did he step in dog shit away at the photo shoot? Alright, anyway, let's pop in this adorable little GameCube disc and get the show on the road. Guess who? Yeah, I'll be playing the 3D All-Stars version. Compared to Mario 64 in the collection, Mario Sunshine is virtually identical to its original release with some small graphical changes. But I want to provide the highest quality version possible for the video, so here we are. And something I forgot to mention in the last video is that when I record Mario 64, in addition to liking the blurred HUD for the authentic feeling, it was still being upscaled to 720p in the NSO version, so I felt it was the best compromise in that case. Besides, I can still play Mario Sunshine just like the original, thanks to Smash Bros. Wii U giving birth to the GameCube adapter. I love this thing so much. Back on the Wii U, it was only compatible with Smash, but here on the Switch, it's compatible with Smash Bros. Ultimate, Mario Sunshine, and pretty much every game under the sun that supports regular controllers. The new controls for 3D All-Stars are just fine with the Pro Controller and Joy-Con, and I'll cover them when we talk about 3D All-Stars itself, but this game always feels right at home with the GameCube controller. Booting the game up, we get whatever the heck that was, and cut to a pink plane in the sky, and we get an entire opening movie setting the beginning of the story for this game. And yes, I said story. When I said this is the strangest Mario game ever to this day, I really freaking mean it. We have a legitimate narrative to follow, at least for the first couple hours. Nothing too crazy by any means, but far more than Mario 64 or any Mario before it. Our story begins on the plane, with Mario, Princess Peach, and new character Toadsworth taking a summer vacation getaway from the Mushroom Kingdom, and 3 things to point out here. 1. Toadsworth. This guy is awesome. I mean, he's not a deep character by any means, but he has a charm to him I like, and I hate that he isn't brought up in games anymore, especially since after this game, he returned in Paper Mario the Thousand Year Door, Mario and Luigi Partners in Time, and some of the sports games. Bring back Toadsworth. 2. The character design. So unlike the last game where clearly we were in that big 3D transition both in-game and in official character art, Nintendo pretty much perfected the designs of the Mario cast from here on out, with only small differences here and there. And I gotta say, all the characters look great, and fitting with the beach theme, this is the only Mario game where Mario in his regular outfit wears short sleeves and my man. Alright, go off, King. And 3. Where's Luigi? I mean, I get why he wasn't in 64, you know, hardware limitations and stuff, and we at least know he was planned, but man, how do you not invite him on vacation? Based on the super deep Mario lore, if we're led to believe this game takes place after Luigi's Mansion, then man, imagine saving your brother from a haunted mansion by the skin of your teeth, and then he takes off for a vacation with the rest of your friend group and leaves you at home. Man, poor guy. Sorry, completely losing track here. But anyway, Mario and co are flying to their destination, Isle Delfino. A tropical island filled with beaches, water, roller coasters, water, beautiful sights to see, and much more water. With the whole island in the shape of a dolphin, which I just I just love so much. Throughout this travel guide video, we see various locals will visit and Mario fantasizing about the seafood. And as a large man myself, I don't blame him at all. All seems great until Peach notices.
Nah, I'm just kidding.
This may seem slightly concerning to her, but everything else seems too good to be true. And now it's time to land. This is Super Mario Sunshine. Man, I love that so much. I never get tired of it. First thing, this logo. I love how this logo looks. Don't get me wrong, it definitely sticks with the Mario Sunshine theme of being the outlier compared to the rest of the series. I mean, look at all these logos. Yeah, they all have their own differences, but they look pretty uniform. And then Mario Sunshine is so out there by comparison, but in a good way. I love the shine sprite on the left, the sun HUD being the O in Mario, seeing the ocean and the sky inside the text, and especially just how colorful it all is. It sticks out in a good way. Now, if we had multiple games with their logos being this busy with design, there may be an issue, but it's one of a kind, and I love it. But now it's time to select a file, and this is a really small thing, but you actually get to fully move when selecting your file. It's not much to note, but to me it always stuck out and felt like a cool little theme they added. So upon the Mario crew arriving on Isle Delfino, the plane is suddenly stopped on the airstrip without any proper braking, with said crew falling over in the plane. I'm glad this game is rated E because a higher rating might result in some interesting details happening in a sudden plane stop like that.
What happened?
Anyway, everyone exits the plane to find the airstrip nearly fully covered in a giant mound of graffiti made of
Icky paint like goo.
At the same time, we cut to Peach, who sees a figure that looks nearly identical to the one she saw in the video, and still says nothing.
You gonna say something?
Excuse me,
Anytime now. Why are you so stupid?
Leaving Mario to go find some sort of assistance, and so far, this is certainly different than usual Mario fare, let me say that now. Anyway, after a bit of acquaintance with these jerks, we're led to our big new thing for this game, Flood. Now what is Flood? Well, to be specific, he's
a flash liquidizer auto-dousing device.
or in layman's terms, a water gun backpack. Look, I know he's not everyone's cup of tea, but I think Flood is pretty freaking awesome. Even as just a concept, I think he's an awesome addition to the game, with this game making a lot of clever use out of the simple act of spraying and using water. Moving on, in this tutorial video, he tells us how to actually use this, which is where the GameCube's special triggers come in. You see, pretty much every 3D Mario game makes use of that console's defining feature to show what it can do for gameplay. In Mario 64, the analog stick. Mario Galaxy 1 and 2, the pointer and some motion controls. Mario 3D World?
I mean, what do you want me to say?
So here in Mario Sunshine, they make incredible use of the GameCube's special analog triggers, and man, these feel so great to use. See, simply pushing down the triggers lightly to medium will change how powerful Mario can spray water, and pushing anything less than all the way will let Mario move while he shoots, while pressing down on the triggers all the way will let Mario take a power stance to exclusively aim in one place. You can also just focus on pure aiming by pressing the Y button, taking the camera to an over-the-shoulder view of Mario, which is what I always wanted. And this is just the beginning. I mean, this is literally just Flood's base form. By simply pressing the X button, he'll change form to the hover nozzle, allowing Mario to shoot two big streams of water to the ground, allowing him to hover in the air for a few seconds at a time. Now, does the hover nozzle entirely obey the laws of physics? Honestly, I'm not sure, but it is so fun to use and can lead to a lot of player creativity in how you move about in a given level. I mean, I'm serious, it sounds so simple, but this really does change up how Mario plays in this game, and can also save you from some life-threatening obstacles. Flood does have way more uses later on. Okay, well maybe not way more, but I'll save those for when it feels more appropriate. And man, seeing the way Mario shoots out water by squeezing the pumps on the side, My man is going to have some next level grip strength by the end of this adventure. Having Flood here will also start a trend in 3D Mario games of having Mario with some sort of partner character to add or change up Mario's moveset, with exception of 3D Land and World of course. And personally, I like this. As long as it adds to Mario's movesets and never feels like a hindrance, I never have issues with any of them. They also help to make each game stand apart as its own, further cementing their own identity and make the game feel a little less lonely at times when he talks, not unlike your partner characters in a lot of Zelda games like Fire Midna. Anyway, with Flood in hand, it's time to simply clean up the mess. Spraying the mountain enough reveals a polluted piranha plant. This isn't a hard fight by any means, simply spraying him in the mouth 3 times. But I must say, when writing the script, realizing they made cleaning up a goop mess with essentially a water gun on steroids into an action platformer is such a cool gameplay idea, and we'll be seeing more amazing ideas like this later. But back to the fight. He evaporates, the airstrip is restored, and out pops the Shine Sprite. Yeah, no stars in this game, these are Shine Sprites, don't get the two confused! But as tradition by this point, Mario grabs it, has a little victory dance, and we go from there. After that, upon Mario and friends celebrating, we see a couple police officer Piantas coming up and outright apprehending Mario, placing him in a courthouse trial. Yeah, I wasn't kidding when I said this game actually has a full-on story in the beginning. This is absolutely insane! In the trial, a Pianta explains that all across Isle Delfino in countless spots, graffiti and pollution has been left behind everywhere. And I mean everywhere. Causing all the Shine Sprites powering the island itself to vanish, leaving Isle Delfino in total darkness. He further goes on to explain that various residents have seen the perpetrator in action, looking nearly identical to Mario. Okay, so while we're in court, let's talk about this voice acting. So yeah, to this very day, this is the only Mario game with extensive characters speaking full sentences. Mario himself still doesn't speak much beyond his usual. But everyone else, Peach, Toadsworth, the Toads, the Piantas, sorta, the villain, all speak extensive dialogue in some cutscenes. And some of it, I actually think sounds just fine like Toadsworth and Flood. And some of it, yeah, some of it isn't exactly good. And we're approaching Sonic Adventure 2 levels of bad sound mixing. But to be honest, all these years later, the hokey voice acting is kind of charming in its own way. Like, I wouldn't call any of it laughably bad like Mega Man 8.
Mega Man?
But where is Dr. Wily?
But I think some lines definitely could have used another take or two. Anyway, back to the trial, still can't believe I'm saying that in a Mario game. With all this information, Mario is now charged with cleaning up this entire island and cleaning up the large mess left behind by the imposter. And that's the main driving force for this game for a while. You're slowly recovering Shine Sprites to both restore the island's clean nature and sunshine, as well as trying to clear your own name and catch this imposter. Now, this is certainly a more interesting premise for the adventure than the last game, and me personally, I think it is so cool. Not necessarily the most epic setup, I think epic and interesting are different in this way, but very, very interesting. Don't get me wrong, it is certainly out there for Mario standards, and certainly not as straight to the point as Mario 64. And by extension, is where I think the game first divides people. Look, I dig this setup, but I totally get how this won't be everyone's thing and may seem too far off from what Mario is to some people. I mean heck, Peach isn't even kidnapped at the beginning. Your only goals for the first 3 areas of the game is collecting the Shine Sprites, and cleaning up the messes left behind by this imposter. Having all this story up front is definitely going to be off-putting for some, I do get that, but no Mario game before or after had this story right at the beginning either. And to me, I view it as a breath of fresh air, and I can appreciate the bold direction they took. The next day, Mario was released on Pro with just that amazing sound mixing I just mentioned.
Your first job's to get rid of all that ugliness.
And our first stop is the center of the town to do something about that mess. And this is now our first experience in this game's hub world, Delfino Plaza. Y'all, this is it. What an amazing hub world. Not only having a bunch of its own Shine Sprites, and we'll get to some of those, but this place is simply far bigger than Peach's Castle from Mario 64, giving you so much freedom to run around and hang out. I mean, you're literally jumping across entire buildings. There are so many NPCs to talk to, boats moving across the water in real time, fruit vendors. This hub world is truly amazing and feels fully realized, with the town becoming actively brighter as you collect more shine sprites, which is such a cool detail. I have spent hours of my life just hanging out in Delfino Plaza, and the NPCs help, and I want to bring that up real quick. Back in my Mario 64 retrospective, I brought up how I never really liked to hang out in those levels very much, and I think a lack of NPCs has something to do with that. Yeah, they're not real, and they don't talk a whole lot, but any area in a game that has people to talk to and just simply coexist makes the area much less lonely. That's a quality that applies almost everywhere in this game. Every area is loaded with people to talk to and really adds to the immersion and makes it feel like something more than I'm not just in a video game level. And the music in Delfino Plaza is just... Also, as a side note, remember in my last video where I mentioned Brawl? Yeah, I had this stage in mind to discuss. Seeing Delfino Plaza in that game, in the same game as Mario, Link, Pikachu, and Sonic the Hedgehog, just blew my mind the first time. It was so cool. Anyway, I'll talk more about Delfino Plaza's levels later, but in short, it's a fantastic hub world, and one I never get tired of. Isle Delfino as a whole is just amazing. Just having the entire game take place on different parts of the same island is an amazing setting and makes the world truly come alive. Doubly so since in every level, you can see different levels from the edge of a stage. Like take here on top of the Ferris wheel in Peanut Park. I can see Rico Harbor, Gelato Beach, Corona Mountain, Serena Beach, and Delfino Plaza all the way in the distance. It's such a simple idea, just seeing the same place from somewhere else, but you can't deny that it's so cool. And it helps that when you get to high verticality in a level to see everything, it's lifted tremendously by a solid presentation. This game, and this whole generation, is such a huge step up in graphics and sound. Like honestly, just seeing that these games were only one generation apart is pretty wild to me. The colors in this game pop so hard, especially in 3D All-Stars. It's so vibrant and quite beautiful at points. Though sometimes you can see something not so beautiful. Admittedly, this game doesn't really look modern by any means if I'm being real. It definitely looks like a game from that generation, but I do think it's aged quite remarkably by today's standards, with all being said. But, with the entire game taking place in Isle Delfino, if you're not a big fan of the tropical theme, there is a strong chance you will get visually bored of this game after just a couple hours, with a few exceptions. There's no snow to speak of, no desert.
Whoa! I'll drink to that!
I mean, there are mountains, but not like mountain worlds. But, fun fact about me, I have never seen snow, and I've lived in the heat my entire life. So if you're like me, and enjoy the tropical setting and the idea of beaches and locals generally associated with them in the real world, you're gonna love this game's setting, since it does so much with its theme. Unlike Mario 64, where levels were pretty disconnected from each other, which there's nothing wrong with that by the way, Mario Sunshine's areas are fully cohesive in their theming, with beaches, a boat dock, an amusement park, villages, and more. This all feels like it belongs in one shared place, and it's just such a strong theme, and y'all be hearing that multiple times through this video. A lot of those same feelings also echo my thoughts on the soundtrack. It's some pretty good stuff too. A lot of fantastic compositions here like Delfino Plaza like I mentioned, Bianco Hills, Rico Harbor, Pianta Village, and plenty more I'll be sure to highlight. All the main area music does share that tropical theme which I enjoy, but the soundtrack as a whole I can't really say is one of Mario's best either. Definitely better than Mario 64, but Mario 64 definitely had more variety in its smaller yet wide soundtrack, and especially doesn't compare to the next few games. Everything more than works, but nothing I would classify as epic particularly, or a top 10 with exception to the Secret Course music and Rico Harbor. It's ultimately down to preference which soundtrack is better. Me personally, I'd probably lean towards Sunshine a little bit for its music just sounding better overall, but they're both great, don't get me wrong. Returning back to the topic of the Delfino Plaza graffiti though, spraying it again reveals another polluted piranha plant. Wait, didn't we just fight this guy like 5 minutes ago? Okay, I'll ignore that for now, since players are still new to Flood. By simply taking down the polluted piranha the same way you did on the airstrip, a statue rises up out of the ground with the imposter standing on top of it. This is Shadow Mario, and to get it out of the way, his design is freaking awesome. I love the shade of blue he has, and the semi-transparent look he has really makes him stand out. But back to the story, we see him jump in the air and attempt to run off with Princess Peach.
Alright, now you have to say something.
Why do I even bother?
And I think this is the first major point of why a lot of Mario fans outright despise the Piantas, so let's talk about them. The Piantas are the main race and residents of Isle Delfino, and they occupy almost every area of the game. I've always really liked their designs though, how they have their own different skin tones, their little trees on top of their heads, and that a lot of them have different clothes really adds to the idea that this is a real place with their own fashion and everything. But the main reason people hate on them is their treatment of the poor sunburned plumber. See, all the residents are blaming Mario for the graffiti due to his likeness with Shadow Mario. Okay. Two major problems, however. One, in this short chase, the Piantas can very clearly see two Marios running around. Even the freaking police can see him running around. Like, come on! Which should immediately raise eyebrows to the residents. The second reason, and the biggest one easily, is that they treat Mario like absolute garbage throughout this entire game.
This game gets me.
Now in the beginning of the game I think it's actually understandable, but just imagine for a moment if their attitude slowly changed over the course of the game, like how the Sunshine and Delfino Plaza changes as you collect the shine sprites. That would have been such a cool detail. I mean, I guess a couple of them soften up on you, but never on the level of actually liking you. All the negativity from them only makes the nice ones stand out that much more. There's not a ton of them. The only ones that come to mind are the Town Mayor in Pianta Village, the Hotel Manager in Serena Beach, and I guess the Sunglasses Guy who will give you a pair of nice shades after you get 30 shines. Not all of them are outright mean to you, but most of them never actually seem grateful to you for your efforts. I think that's what a lot of people hate the most, is that in the game world, Mario is busting his hump trying to clean up an island for a crime he didn't even commit, and gets treated like trash no matter what he does. And what makes it worse is that a lot of those efforts aren't exactly fun. Don't worry, we'll get to those. But I still like the Piantas because this is just me talking. But even if people are mean to me, I try to help them anyway. Some of the things they say have become some of my favorite inside jokes with my friends. Also, when I'm playing the game for the large majority, these guys slip into the back of my mind when I'm playing anyway. Speaking of the actual game though, yeah, remember that thing we were doing? A few squirts of water later, and he drops her, taking off towards the statue with Mario in tow. He then scribbles an M on the statue, which transports us to our first major level, Bianco Hills. Our first major area of the game begins with Episode 1, Road to the Big Windmill, and... well, this changes everything! So like in Mario 64 where the game would just tell you the name of the star and then, good luck! Now, you pick the episode of the level, and a little opening scene plays showing where you need to go and what you need to do. Side note, I love that all the missions in this game are called episodes. No particular reason, I just like it. It makes it feel weirdly important in a way I can't really describe. I feel this is the first time the developers trying to make your progress considerably more linear than before. Anyway, speaking of linearity, let's address this now. Compared to Mario 64, progression is straight up far more linear here than last time. You're no longer just dropped in a world to get any star you want in any order. Now, you pick that episode, you're shown where that shine is or what the objective is, and from there you're locked into that mission period. No ifs, ands, or buts. This isn't a big problem on paper. Different from Mario 64? Yeah, definitely. We won't get as open sandbox-esque as Mario 64 again until 2017, but despite the different structure of this game, these two titles still feel like they're in the same boat. I think it really comes down to the level design. So despite the fact that you're heavily railroaded in this game, the level designs themselves are still very akin to Mario 64. There's still no time limit, unless you're doing a time challenge that this game is exploding with, don't worry, we'll get to there. You're still mostly free to goof off and explore your surroundings, and these are still wide open areas for Mario to run around in and play around with your arsenal of moves. And with that said, let's talk about Mario's moveset and control itself. And man, if they nailed anything in this game, it's Mario's control. Now don't get me wrong, as I've said in the past, Mario controls quite well in Mario 64, and it's still a lot of fun today. But compared to Mario Sunshine, every game after Mario 64 on that note, Mario controls like a dream here. I mean, it's night and day comparing these two games. Mario still has his full 360 degrees of movement, but he turns so much tighter than before, and I never have to slowly walk in a circle to correct myself. Everything about his movement is so smooth, it never feels clunky, and has always been one of the best things about this game. Mario himself has certainly been on aerobics training going into Sunshine, as almost his entire moveset from 64 returns, plus some new moves as well. The double and triple jumps are back and are even better to use here. The wall jump has thankfully been completely fixed here and is now so much fun to use for navigation. Man, the facelift the wall jump got just one game later is quite staggering in my opinion. I forgot to mention it before, but the ground pound has also returned as well. To make it brief, you jump, and no matter where you are, simply press the L trigger to butt stomp in midair to break some objects and be completely sure where you'll land. I mostly use it in Mario 64 to be confident in my landing, but that's never a problem here with Mario's fantastic air control. In addition to the ground pound returning, it now has two tiers of impact, just the regular one, and what I'm gonna call the meteor effect, letting Mario literally shake the world with just his dump truck. Man, I wish I could do that. They did remove the crouch, which means no more backwards somersault, but I do not miss it at all with the buff to the side somersault, and oh my god! The side somersault here is just incredible. You barely need any momentum in this game, just flicking the stick a little bit, and Mario will practically blast off from this one action. And combined with the refined wall jump means you can pull off so many fancy tricks in this game, and that's not even discussing another one of Mario's new moves, the spin jump. The spin jump in Mario Sunshine, in my opinion, is the most powerful single jump in the entire franchise with just base Mario. I mean, when you master it, it is ridiculous how much distance you can cross with it. Simply spinning the analog stick once is enough, and it's so much fun to use. The spin jump would unfortunately be nerfed in future appearances, which does kinda stink, but in those games, I never really miss its strength here, so we forgive and forget, for now. Unfortunately, with all these new moves, we did lose the long jump, which... it's fine! But then I remembered the dive. The dive in Mario 64 was pretty good, but never really a requirement for any stars. Here though, the dive this time has evolved so much, I struggle to even consider these the same move anymore with how good and just different the dive is in this game. You can press B to keep diving over and over again, and press B after a jump to get a lot of height and distance out of a jump. Pro tip, use the dive right when you reach the peak of a spin jump or a side somersault. I promise, you will practically fly. And spraying some of Flood's water and immediately diving will give Mario a slip and slide, letting you slide across entire beaches and towns. Oh yeah, Flood! So combined with everything I talked about between Flood, all nozzles included, and Mario's insane moveset, we are talking about an extremely versatile Mario here. There's so many ways to get around in this game, leading to that same great game feel that is always important in platformers. Overall, this is a great evolution of the blueprints Mario 64 left. I didn't even mention some of the smaller things they added, like the tightrope walking and jumping on said tightrope, being able to now shimmy against walls if you're holding onto a ledge, or this weird sprint you can do diving then immediately pressing A against an inclined area. Not sure if this was intentional or not, but I still really like it. Oddly enough though, the swimming in this game is kind of awful in my opinion. I mean, it's so simple, press B to swim deeper and A to rise up, but it is so stiff and feels very disjointed compared to everything else, and is in my opinion, the worst swimming in all of 3D Mario. Luckily though, swimming in this game is required so rarely that it's really not a big deal at all. And in the few missions that do have extensive underwater sections, they give you all the tools you need to succeed. I think even the developers knew how bad the swimming was, which in a weird way, is kind of hilarious for a game being all about water. Swimming aside, if I do have any problem with Mario in this game, is that in some of the tighter platforming sections, I think Mario is a bit overly sensitive on tiny platforms. It wouldn't be till the next game where I'd say they got everything down perfectly, but still, compared to Mario 64, I think there are far less sections where that's an issue, and there's usually a workaround to handle it, but sometimes it'll still sneak its ugly head in on occasion. And it sure is a good thing Mario is versatile, because these levels to me are significantly larger and more complex than the last game. Beyond the Hills is a lovely first level with its mainly green and white color aesthetic and overall pretty chill vibe. This level in my mind is pretty much made of two halves, with the first half being this lovely little village with Pianta residents, and the other half containing pretty much all the action, like the lake, these trees with whatever these things are, and a big windmill is the major set piece. Okay, it's time to fight. Dude, again? This is the second shine and the third time we fought this thing. What is up? Anyway, rinse and repeat, it evaporates, and this cool effect happens with the hill rising up out of the ground. Side note here, I don't exactly know what to call it, but whenever things in this game rise out of the ground with this effect, I just love how it looks. It feels like it's out of a Nickelodeon animation. And with the hill restored, it will stay restored leading us to episode 2, Down with PD Piranha. And yeah, you heard that right. This guy! I, and so many people, love PD Piranha. He's such a wacky guy, but he has such a cool design. I'm so glad he's made it in as a mainstay in the extended Mario cast. Also, I just never get tired of this entire scene here. And this boss fight is pretty cool, might I add. When he opens his mouth wide open, simply spray water into his mouth and his belly will fill with water. It's very simple, but like I said before, I like that this feels like a very creative idea with this spraying water mechanic, and it's certainly a cooler boss fight than King Babam or King Womp in my opinion. Episode 3, The Hillside Cave Secret. Well, I guess I could check my surroundings on the way to the cave and ooh! I wonder what these do. I mean, I see a few around me. I bet they do something cool, and they even have their own counter alongside regular coins. Surely these must be important.
Well, I can't beat around the bush any longer. So let's discuss.
The blue coins are without a doubt the most controversial and probably infamous thing in this entire game. Let's make this 100% clear to get everyone on the same page. These blue coins and these blue coins are not the same, like not even close. These blue coins do not give you 5 coins, nor do they respawn in a new mission. Blue coins are their own currency in this game for better or worse. And what do? Well, I'll tell you. Hey, so a little intermission here. This is a great time to go to the bathroom, get a drink, get some food, get comfortable, and whatever else you need to do before we continue. If you're all set, we'll now continue in 3, 2, 1... So getting ahead a bit, after you unlock the second area of the game, Rico Harbor, this little house opens up. Inside here are 2 bears, the only 2 bears on the entire island in fact, and what do? They will sell you 1 shine sprite for every 10 blue coins you collect. But let's look at the big picture here and do a little math before adding blue coins. Okay, so every area has 8 different episodes with their own shine sprites plus 3 hidden shine sprites to find. In addition, Delfino Plaza also has 18 shine sprites of its own to collect if you include the airstrip. So add 77 plus 18 and you only have 95 shine sprites. And since Nintendo wanted to match Mario 64's total of 120, that means we're still missing 25 shine sprites. Now 2 things. 1, why did Mario 64 have 120 in total? I'm just generally curious. I mean, 120 is a cool number and all, and it was the status quo for 3D Mario for a while. But I've always wondered. If anyone knows, please tell me in the comments. And 2, where do we get those extra 25 shine sprites? Well, it's simple. You get 1 by default for being the final boss, makes sense, and the rest of the shine sprites are all locked behind those delectable blue coins. Which means that in total there are 240 blue coins scattered anywhere and everywhere to find. Okay, so it's a scavenger hunt. What's the big deal so far? Well, I'll tell you. First, there are 30 in every major area, 20 in Delfino Plaza, and 10 in Corona Mountain. But does the game tell you any of that? No! And it gets worse, ladies and gentlemen. There is no radar, no map, no guide, literally nothing telling you where these blue coins are. And here's what I think is the worst part. A lot of these blue coins are fairly easy to spot, with many of them being in spots that make sense as an extra collectible to grab, not unlike Jinjo's and Banjo-Kazooie. If all the blue coins were like this, I think people would make less of a fuss over it, but no, it couldn't be that simple. The developers had to find ways to squeeze 240 of these things into the game, so how did they do this besides the ones easy to find? Pound this one particular cataquack in episodes 1 through 4 in Gelato Beach. Grab these specific blue coins, but only in the episode where you're riding the Sandbird, which is already death-defying enough. Make this random windmill spray with Flood in Bianco Hills. Spray this thing, but only in episode 1 of Rico Harbor. Spray this random sign in Piazza Village. Shoot water at the moon in episodes 1, 3, 5, and 7. Get these blue coins from these baskets by blowing them up with these bullet bills, but only in episode 2 of Peanut Park, and I could go on and on and on. Especially the ones where you just spray a random object. These are the definition of stupid to me. Like, seriously? That was the most creative thing you could do? Any blue coin that just requires spraying a random object are easily the worst offenders in the game. Like, it doesn't matter what the age of the players or how smart they are. What could possibly be hinting you to spray this random furniture to get a blue coin? Which is why I now reward Serena Beach for having the most pathetic blue coins in the entire game. And having blue coins tied to specific missions just feels really short-sighted. For example, how could players just know that you can only get this one blue coin in episode 3 of Pianta Village under all this slop? Like, that's not clever. That's just bad design. If there was a hint system, or a map you could buy, or just something, anything to point you in the right direction, that'd be one thing. But no, they're just there. Now just hear me out. Let's say there was a full remake of Mario Sunshine, or at the very least a remaster tidying up a lot of the game's core issues without changing any of the actual structure. I'd make two huge changes. The first is to make all blue coins accessible in all episodes. I have nothing more to say about that, it's just stupid, and I think everyone would agree with that. The second is to add some sort of hint system or in-game guide. Let's say they got rid of the life count and collecting coins now becomes just like your currency in Mario Odyssey. And then in Delfino Plaza, maybe there's a shop where you can buy like a radar for the blue coins. Make it behave like it does in Sonic Adventure, where it'll lead you to it, but you still have to find it yourself. Or maybe a blue coin minimap like buying a map from Tingle and Majora's Mask. Or heck, even just a rumble feature if you're near one. Or heck, make it even simpler. Add a Toad or a Pianta that specializes in blue coin research that'll send you the location of one blue coin, like the Toad or Uncle Amiibo in Odyssey. And back to the idea of blue coin research, I gotta say, the blue coins feel really detached from everything. I mean seriously, not a single character brings them up outside of these damn bears. And the idea that these bears are selling you the shine sprites, which is technically a felony if they're withholding the very objects that are destroying their home, just means that more than anything, they just feel like nothing but padding. And is easily the biggest offender of Mario Sunshine's biggest problem. Yes, if it wasn't obvious enough by my out-of-this-world foreshadowing, this game was rushed hard. I mean, developers have gone on record saying this game was only made in 18 months, and man, as much as I love Mario Sunshine, this game at times absolutely reeks of that 18-month time rush. I mean, the lack of polish you'd expect from Mario's standards and general jank with the physics really do speak for themselves. This game, in all honesty, doesn't really have a boatload of content if you really think about it. I mean, sure, there are 120 shines to obtain, but the devs really stretched and utilized the content they did make as far as they possibly could. I mean, you fight the polluted piranha plant 3 times 20 minutes into the adventure, you fight Gooper Blooper 3 times in this game, with the third encounter feeling especially out of nowhere. Some of the truly infamous one-off missions just speak for themselves and how rushed they feel, and we'll get to the red coins momentarily. This game, under a critical lens, feels very cobbled together when I look at it in the big picture. Now, why was this game rushed? Well, that's because of the very system it was on, the Nintendo GameCube. Look, bless the GameCube's heart, but sales-wise, it was just not working out in its generation. Especially when you compare the sales to its rivals. Woo, yeah. So after the launch of the GameCube and Smash Bros. Melee release, the GameCube just stopped selling. I don't want to stray too far from what we're discussing, but to sum it up, due to various factors like DVD drives and disc sizes among many other reasons, people just weren't interested in the GameCube, leading Nintendo to rush out main entries in their 2 biggest franchises with Super Mario Sunshine and The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker. Also, side note, what was with Nintendo's obsession with water around this time? Okay people, we need big ideas for the GameCube. What do you got?
Sir?
What? What's up?
Behind you.
Huh? I got it! Despite the majority of the fanbase nowadays, myself included, holding Wind Waker in high regard, anyone who's played that game also knows that it is painfully obvious where corners were cut. No third dungeon in the first half of the adventure, not a whole lot of dungeons in general, and everything about the infamous Triforce quest speaks for itself. But to be honest, while yes, these are problems, I think between these 2 games, Mario Sunshine undoubtedly suffered worse from the rush development. I mean, at least with the issues in Wind Waker, they made it make sense in a story context, and for the most part feels pretty polished. Mario Sunshine, on the other hand, does everything it possibly can to reach its 120 shine goal, from lots of repeating objectives, repeated boss fights, and look, I really don't like to use the term fan-made in a context like this, because I feel like it discredits the developers who were clearly very passionate about what they were working on, but like, there's no other way to say it. Some shines in this game just feel fan-made like a ROM hack. No other mainline Mario game has ever had a challenge designed to not be fun, but Sunshine definitely has some of these, or at least that's the impression they give off, and the blue coins are just the cherry on top of this cobbled together sundae. But despite everything I just said about the blue coins, I still really like finding them. Yeah, I know, they're stupid, and some of them can jump off a cliff, but I kinda like the scavenger hunt feel they have. Not all of them are fun, but I like looking for them, and I do usually feel a sense of accomplishment finding them. I think it's that sound. I mean, I won't defend them till my dying death or anything, but I like looking for them. I'm a simple man, my favorite color is blue, and I like collecting shiny things. But clearly, the reception to the blue coins in the game as a whole mortified Nintendo to some extent. I mean, this is a company that pretty much always instills quality into all their major titles, and they must have known that having a mainline Mario game that wasn't universally loved clearly shook them to the core. I mean, I love this game. I don't even think the biggest Sunshine haters would call it a complete failure. This isn't even remotely close to being one of the worst games ever. Not by a long shot. If you do, I hate you. But Nintendo clearly took their reception to their soul and would go on to never rush a 3D Mario ever again. Every 3D Mario game after this point would fully realize their vision and is pretty much universally loved by all players, which really sucks since, like I said before, this game's core ideas are so strong that every shortcut they took to get the game out on time means that while I love this game, I think a lot of its ideas presented never get to be fully realized. And before we change topics, this is why I brought up the N64 disk drive. I mean, why this game was rushed and late to the launch will always be a mystery to me, but I guess we'll never know. With all that said though, let's get to something far more positive, I think, and go to episode 3, the Hillside Cave Secret. So for everyone who hates Flood, these missions are for you. No holds bars. This is the first of many secret missions. Well, we seem to be on the right foot so far since they're better than whatever those secrets were in Wet Dry World, so let's see what we're dealing with here. The secret missions are more or less the equivalent to the Bowser stages of Mario 64. They're a straight line from beginning to end. Flood is stolen from you on the first run, and it all comes down to straight platforming. I gotta say, most of these are pretty awesome. With Mario's fantastic control, these levels are so much fun, most of them. And they also have some incredibly solid level designs. Platforming fans will probably see these as the best part of the game, most of them. That said though, I won't lie, for Mario standards, these can be quite difficult. I mean, maybe not the first one here, but in general, these stages I feel ask a lot of you for Mario standards. I could easily see kids having a tough time with some of these. They're not impossible by any means, nothing Kaizo, but some of these sections feel like post-game challenges in most other Mario games. But here, they are straight up required for the final battle. That's another thing I most like about this game. It has a bit of an edginess to it in difficulty. This game can actually be quite hard at times. Now let me be clear, it's not always hard for the right reasons, and that's when I start to not have a good time. But I like that I have to legitimately work for some of these shines. Yeah, don't get me wrong, Mario games are usually never that hard in difficulty, at least until you beat Bowser. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'll take fun over difficulty any day. All these games are a blast. But I like that this game isn't afraid to really test you pretty early on, specifically in the second secret level in Bianco Hills in the episode Secret of the Dirty Lake. These flipping platforms make things legitimately challenging with next to no room for error. Not impossible by any means, but certainly a lot for Mario standards this early into the game. Combined with this cube here, which for its tiny size, combined with some of Mario's overly sensitive control on occasion, can make for a stressful few seconds. Okay, so we got the shine for episode 3. Did you like traveling to the Hillside Cave Secret?
Well, it's time to be a cool YouTuber and subvert your expectations because, yeah, I don't really mind.
Okay, so, as mentioned previously, every area has 11 shines to claim, 8 from the actual episodes, and 3 secret shines. So where do we get these secret shines? Well, you always get 1 for 100 coins, which I'll bring up now. Compared to Mario 64, I definitely don't have as much fun collecting in this game. Yeah, remember when I brought up a few courses in the last game having low coin counts? Well, I feel like every single course suffers from that here. Granted, none of them take super long to get, but I feel like I'm always scraping by in every one of these levels, and don't feel like they were planned out in the level design that well at all. Thankfully with these, there is at least one huge improvement, and that is that now when you get 100 coins, the shine has its own predetermined spot it will spawn to, meaning no more moments of potentially grabbing the star in a death-defying scenario. So beyond 100 coins, the other secret shines will either come from something super random in the level, like a bird or spraying the sun or something, or the secret levels. And what do you do to get these shines? Well, you travel back to the secret level, this time having FLUDD on your back again, and you ground pound this red zit that's now here, and boom, you now have 8 red coins to collect in the level. And I won't lie, these are pretty fun! They make great use of platform with FLUDD and are integrated well with the level designs. I didn't emphasize it as much earlier, but I think these missions really do shine FLUDD in the best light for how he really does add to the platforming and makes the movement-to-movement jumping more exciting. And the music that plays in these challenges, in my opinion, has no right to be popping the freak off as hard as it does. Speaking of red coins though, wow, just wow. So in Mario 64, you had 1 red coin mission for every level, plus a few here and there in the castle's secret stars. Well, they brought back the red coins from Mario Sunshine, only they dialed them up to 11 and beyond. I mean, I'm not kidding guys, they are everywhere in this game. And this is the type of stuff I'm talking about when I bring up mission repetition. I mean, you have at the very least 1 red coin mission for every area, plus a red coin mission for every secret level, plus those infamous shines are also red coin missions. Like, there are so many red coin missions, just chill out! Side note, these red coins, like the blue coins, don't add to your regular coin count unlike Mario 64. Add that to the list of reasons I don't like the 100 coin shines in this game. Counterpoint though, like a lot of things in this game, where Mario Sunshine may falter in unoriginal missions, it makes up for in still being really fun. Most of these I just have a good time playing through, and I love the sound effect that plays when you pick them up. As I say a lot, as long as I'm having a good time, I personally don't really care too much what the objective is, and these are just fun. Well, most of them, you know which ones I'm talking about. Episode 5, Petey Piranha Strikes Back. Another boss recycle, who would have thought? Anyway, one thing I like about this mission in particular, despite the fact that the fight itself takes forever, is that you're actually fighting him across the entire village this time, and that's something I can appreciate about nearly all the boss fights in this game. There aren't a ton of them to go around, but they all definitely feel like a step up from Mario 64 both in scale, and that they feel more connected with the area they're in. Like yeah, even if the boss is stationary, they feel like they're doing more with their surroundings than just arena. Episode 6, Secret of the Dirty Lake. I already talked about the secret mission enough, so moving on. Episode 7, Shadow Mario on the loose. Okay, let's do this. Man, that was really cool. I hope I get to do this 6 more times. Oh, joy! Okay, so episode 7, every area is a Shadow Mario chase, where all you have to do is simply spray him till he falls down and surrenders. Do this for all 7 areas and the final boss becomes unlocked. And this goes back to what I was talking about earlier with the railroaded progression. In this game, it doesn't matter how many shine sprites you have. If you haven't sprayed down Shadow Mario 7 times, none of it matters. You have to be episode 7 of every mission or no endgame no matter what. And what does that mean for the rest of the shine sprites outside of episodes 1 through 7 of every area? Nothing. Yep. All those extra shine sprites, blue coins, nonsense challenges amount to nothing, which I think is why people take such big issue with this game in particular. See, you never hear people complain a whole lot about completing any 3D Mario game after this game, and even Mario 64 doesn't get too much flack, but that's for 2 reasons. 1, sometimes you do get something for completing them. Mario 64, you get to see Yoshi. Mario Galaxy, you get to play as Luigi. And yeah, at the end of the day, it's about the journey and not the destination, but that takes me to my second point. This game is not always fun to complete. Even in Mario games where you ultimately get nothing for completing it, you can usually argue that it is just non-stop fun from beginning to end, which as someone who usually plays games for the journey and not the destination, is in that camp. Mario Sunshine though, even the biggest supporters, myself included, will probably agree, this game kinda sucks to complete at times. And not in the this game is hard sort of way, just the not enjoyable in any way to complete sort of way, and that's the worst. And after all the work you put in for 100%, what do you get for all your efforts? Yep! That final card of just the cash you get being the thing you get for 100% completion is a complete slap in the face. I mean, there's no other way to say it, and for those that hate this game because of it, I can totally understand that. But I can't necessarily say I agree either because I personally just have way too much fun playing this game. I know I've been saying that a lot in this video so far, saying, oh, I love this game, but I really enjoy this game. But keep in mind, critically, this game is not amazing, and two, like, this is the internet, where, no offense to anyone, but anything you say can be taken out of context and twisted very easily. I can't really stress this enough because it is so easy to rip into why this game doesn't work for so many people and contributes to the entirety of this game's very strange legacy. I mean, people freaking hated this game back in the day, and with a couple exceptions like some Mario sports games making references, it felt like for the longest time Nintendo wanted to act like this game just never happened. I mean, this game was literally never re-released until 18 years later in 3D All-Stars. At the very least, Mario Galaxy got put on the Wii Virtual Console and Wii U. But in a weird way, I think time has been kind to this game's reputation. Remember, social media and the like wasn't really a big thing until the late 2000s. And since then, this game has become one of those cult following type of games. And I'm one of those people. This game's vast number of flaws, frustrating design decisions and level designs, and outright bizarre moments are what a lot of people like about this game, myself included. It's a weird situation looking back. You start to appreciate something partly because of its flaws, but at the very least makes it incredibly memorable. I mean, you can make the most perfect, polished game ever, but if it doesn't resonate with people on any level, then no one's going to talk about it. On that note, we come to the final episode of Bianco Hills, Red Coins of the Lake, with the 4th red coin mission of the first area. All in all, I like Bianco Hills, though to be honest, I still probably rank it last in my Mario Sunshine areas. Not because it's bad, just because I think it has the least interesting set pieces of all the major areas. And just like me in my school years, something has to be picked last. Next up, it's time to head to Rico Harbor. Now before we discuss anything else, like I said before, the music here absolutely pops off. Anyway, this is another part of the game I spent hours in as a kid just hanging out and goofing off. The sheer verticality in this whole construction area just adds to the player's freedom. But enough wasting time. Episode 1, Gooper Blooper breaks out. Our goal is simple, make it to the end of Rico Harbor and investigate the lone tentacle. Now the intended method here is across all of this, but instead, okay, let's pull that tentacle. So this is Gooper Blooper, another iconic character from this game that would also go on to be in some spin-offs like Mario Power Tennis. Anyway, yeah, he's a giant blooper and is spraying black goop everywhere. I love his design too, man. Polluted piranha plants aside, we're 2 for 2 with quality boss fights so far, and also continues the trend of being a lot better than the bosses of Mario 64. Now you pull off his tentacles, gotta spray his face, and then grab his nose and pull back. It's a really cool fight. Episode 2, Blooper Surfing Safari. Simply go over to the right here, and now we're literally surfing on bloopers. This is so cool! Unfortunately, even though they only use this idea in 2 missions, I just think that's such an amazing thing they added. and the obstacle course is simply amazing. I'm glad to see they expanded on the idea of Koopa shell surfing from the last game, and these couple missions are easily some of the most memorable to me in the entire game. Episode 3, the Cage Shine Sprite. Another solid mission here. Now we're platforming across all this construction. This to me always stood out. Mainly because while it's literally just a giant obstacle course, I like how much it feels naturally ingrained with the level. You'll also be fighting some bloopers on foot here, which, as far as I know, is their only appearance in the entire franchise where they crawl along the ground. Speaking of bloopers, if you've been paying attention, you can tell this level really loves them. I think that's a really cool detail in the big picture. Every major area I've noticed will have a few enemies overlap, but they tend to have their own enemies tied in with their theming. Like how Bianca Hills has almost exclusively piranha plant themed enemies with some pokies scattered, Rico Harbor has nearly just bloopers, Gelato Peach has and so on. I think that's such a cool detail, and does that much more to help each level stand out in their own way. I know this technically isn't a new thing for Mario, but even back in 2002, it really seems more like an RPG thing, but I just really like this detail. I guess while I'm at it, let's talk about the enemies. So despite all the areas hosting far more NPCs, there's still plenty of baddies to deal with along the way, except not the ones you'd come to expect. Yeah, so we're away from the Mushroom Kingdom obviously, which also includes the enemies. Yeah, we still have Chain Chomps, Bloopers, and Boos, but there is not a single Goomba or Koopa in this entire game. We do have these things, which are apparently named Strollin' Stews, which have a few variants but have never appeared in a game after this. We also have Electro Koopas, which are exclusive to Peanut Park, but even returning enemies like the one Wiggler is green in this game. This continues in the trend of this game being weird. I love it more for it. So many original designs here, and they're also fun. I mean, even the Boos have a very distinct look in this game. It's awesome! Episode 4, The Secret of Rico Tower. Another fun secret level with some fantastic platforming action that would surprisingly be brought back in a future game that I won't spoil. Episode 5, Gooper Blooper Returns. Yep, he sure does. Episode 6, Red Coins in the Water. The second and last blooper surfing shine, which makes me sad, but still a fun mission. But be sure when you grab that shine to make 1000% positive you're going to touch it back on land. Because when you get the shine, you don't just fall off the blooper. If you are on the blooper and you run into something, instant death. Even after you get all the red coins. Episode 7, Shadow Mario Revisited. Done! And, Mario, you're looking the wrong way! You're looking the wrong way! Next up, Gelato Beach. What a relaxing level. I mean, it's just a big beach, but it's so just relaxing, as I'd said, especially with the music. Anyway, this is one of the few areas that tells a story. Kind of. Not exactly a story in the traditional sense, but more like where some of the episodes tie together for a larger goal, which is a really cool concept, but also one I really wish reached its full potential. Episode 1, The Dune Buds Sandcastle Secret. This area has one secret level, but on the way there, it teaches us a new mechanic in the beach in the form of these Dune Buds. These purple straw looking things, simply spraying them. I'm not exactly sure why that happens when you spray them, but they're all over the beach and some of them pop up some interesting shapes. Okay, now, thanks to the game's unfinished physics engine, let's do something funny. Episode 2, Mirror Madness, Tilt, Slam, BAM! So this is the first episode that has the story idea I brought up. See, at the center of Gelato Beach lies an egg containing something called the legendary Sandbird. Oh, it's legendary, but not in a good way. Only problem is that right now, there's a giant wiggler napping on top of it with these, plungelos. There we go. Hanging out on the mirror, keeping the egg from getting proper sunlight. So let's go take care of them. Tilt!
Slam! BAM!
For whatever reason, this causes the Wiggler to fall over and fall into pieces. What? Okay, I'm not really sure how Wiggler looks like this in the next episode after that happened, but okay. Alright, anyway, now let's go get that shot. What? Where are all the trees? Episode 3, Wiggler Ahoy! Full steam ahead, matey! The boss fight for this area, and one that, like the others so far, is pretty awesome. Wiggler is absolutely massive in this game, and is why they taught you about the Dune Buds in episode 1. Simply shoot at one, make him trip, and ground pound on the appropriate section. A little detail I like is how the music actually gets faster each time you hit him. I think it's pretty funny. Also, fun fact, I didn't discover this until this very playthrough, but in the third phase of this fight, he actually runs on top of the mountain, which, as I mentioned before, is just really cool to me. I like to see the boss literally stomping around the entire level, and just adds spectacle to it all. Episode 4, the Sandbird is born. Okay, let's get this over with. The Sandbird in its entirety is one of the most infamous sequences in Mario Sunshine. In concept, this is so awesome. I mean, you're literally standing on a giant bird made of sand blocks flying around a tower. Unfortunately, 1, this is another red coin mission, meaning you have to move across the entire bird, and 2, with this game's wonky physics sometimes, it can lead to a lot of this, and this, and this, especially when he turns 90 degrees. Like, I am so not comfortable right now. On top of that, like I mentioned before, there are 4 blue coins to get here on these clouds, and if you can't get back on the bird in time, you have to just kind of sit there for a solid couple minutes until he flies back down. But I still like this mission for all its problems. It always stands out to me for the creativity alone. Okay, episode 5, Il Piantissimo Sand Sprint. And yes, to correct anyone out there and my 5-year-old self, it is in fact Il Piantissimo and not Dos Piantissimo. Anyway, this guy over here in a Pianta costume challenges us to a race, in this case the top of the mountain. It's pretty simple, just get to the McDonald's stall at the top before he does. But I like that these build on the Koopa the Quick races from the last game, except this guy actually jumps and can move off the ground. You'll find him in a couple more levels, simple missions obviously, but they make good use of the areas you're in. Also, who is this guy? I mean, this is just some random dude in a Pianto outfit. Well, thanks to various modders out there, we can see he's the running man from Ocarina of Time. Episode 6, a red coin mission. I have nothing to say about it. Episode 7, Shadow Mario. I definitely have nothing to say about it. Episode 8, the Watermelon Festival. Let's discuss another infamous mission of this game, the Watermelon Festival. Okay, so this guy here is hosting a Watermelon Festival, and whoever on the beach gives him the biggest watermelon wins a shiny sprite. As we already discussed like the bears, this guy should be arrested for this, and I'll leave it at that. So what you have to do is find the biggest watermelon on the beach and painstakingly get it all the way over here. Only problem is the cataquacks all over the beach. So I didn't mention that yet, but the cataquacks are another new enemy in this game, and if they touch you, they fling you in the air, which is annoying, but only damages you if it's a red one. Only problem is if they so much as look at the watermelon funny, they will instantly destroy it. So you have to maneuver the watermelon over here while dealing with the cataquacks on the path, which can be a lot harder than it sounds. And then, once you get to the bridge, you have to very carefully, so precisely, shoot it to get it across, which I gotta say, if you lose the watermelon here, you deserve a hug. I've gotten better at playing this mission over the years, but I will not defend how frustrating it can be. Gelato Beach as a whole, though, is pretty enjoyable, though be warned, this area loves episode-specific blue coins. So after this area is where the status quo actually shifts a little bit in the story. After unlocking Gelato Beach, if you have enough shines, which I don't know why you wouldn't, this boat will appear on the other side of the plaza, and by walking up to it, we find Shadow Mario, now with Peach aboard. Shadow Mario proceeds to do this, whatever that was, and escapes to Peanut Park. Luckily, with the cannon now accessible, we play another game of chase. I'll talk more about the area in a bit, but after a brief chase across the park, we see Shadow Mario hovering above the pool. They have a face-off, the water suddenly disappears, and a giant robot rises up out of the ground. And this has to be one of my favorite parts of any Mario game. Like, just, wow, that's awesome. Anyway, to help us out, The park owner gives us a ride on the roller coaster, and now we're fighting Mecha Bowser by firing rockets at him while on a roller coaster with loop-de-loops, complete with this awesome song in the background. Easily one of the most memorable parts of the game for me. I mean, this is creative and wild and just fun. I mean, up until now in Mario games, we've never had a fight on this scale before, and it's just so cool. Upon firing enough rockets, we finally get the true identity of Shadow Mario, which is a brand new character for this game, Bowser Jr. I want to take a little time to talk about this guy for a minute. Bowser Jr. has always been one of my favorite Mario characters, easily more interesting to me than the 7 Koopalings in Mario World in the new series. I like that they bring him back in other games too. It really makes him feel like a legitimate side villain to his dad, and he usually brings such a chaotic energy that I look forward to fighting him. Also, his design is fun. He always wears a bib, and after Sunshine, it's painted with a smile on it, and it's just a cool theme they added. I also love how since this game, they really built up the father-son dynamic with him and Bowser. It's cool to see that Bowser is legitimately more than just the bad guy. Anyway, back to Mario Sunshine. Bowser Jr. explains that his dad told him that Mario is the bad guy and stole Peach from them, which Bowser told him was his mama. And this is why he's been running around as Shadow Mario, dirtying up the island. He then explains he's been doing all this with the power of his magic paintbrush, which came from a strange old man in a white coat. Which is some cool world building with Luigi's Mansion, might I add. Soon after, he escapes with Peach and heads for Corona Mountain, the final area of the game. Well, I hope you like the attempt at story in this game, because any attempt at furthering the plot just stops after this point, which honestly is really disappointing to me. While it was never a perfect setup or anything, I like that the story actually kept progressing for a couple hours, and to see it just completely stop here feels like a missed opportunity to me. Probably another product of the rush development. Look, obviously I don't need a story reason at all to enjoy a Mario game, but if they're gonna go this hard with cutscenes in the beginning and make it seem like things are really gonna be different this time, then they should have gone all the way with it. From this point forward, it's just about saving Peach and beating episode 7 of every area, which is fine, but I'm oddly a little let down in the end. Anyway, with that, let's actually talk about Peanut Park now. Man, what a cool idea for a Mario level! When you arrive, you have this beach outside, which has a few shines and blue coins to itself, and then when you go inside, they really did manage to make this a full theme park. There's of course the pool in the back, but also these giant spinning pirate ships, that's awesome. Ooh, and also these clamps on the side here that open when sprayed. A gigantic Ferris wheel in the back that you can almost always see around the island. And of course, the roller coaster going around the whole area. It's just so cool, man. This is more of that amazing creativity that I love this game for so much, dude. Platforming and running around in an amusement park is so awesome, and the game takes full advantage of it in its episodes. Episode 2, The Beach Cannon's Secret. The park is closed, but simply go over here and blow this mole up when he throws these weirdly designed bob-ombs. The secret level itself is pretty fun. I always found the platforms popping in and out memorable to me, and the background being in the visual style of Yoshi's Island is a great touch. I didn't touch on it before, but most of the secret levels have pretty cool backgrounds, and successfully changed up the aesthetic from the rest of the game. You have some 8-bit Marios here in this casino light background, a beautiful sunset here, but most of them have these space-like backgrounds. If anything, a lot of these feel like Mario Galaxy prototypes to an extent, even if that's not the intention. Also, here's a tip for your Mario Sunshine newbies. If you do the Peanut Park 100 coins, do this mission, since all the bullet bills you spray will explode into coins, meaning you can just instantly farm your 100 right here. Episode 3, Red Coins on the Pirate Ship. Pretty self-explanatory, but still a great time. Episode 4, The Wilted Sunflowers. Another mission outside the park where, what is this? A Yoshi egg? The time has come, and... Damn, puberty's a bitch! Yeah, these are not Yoshis. These are Snooza Koopas, and they have stopped the flowers from blooming. Simply pound them in the sand, they'll also grow a ton of flowers. Simple enough. So despite the fact that these weren't Yoshis, even with the same egg design, completing this mission will cut to Shadow Mario back in Delfino Plaza, carrying, what is this? An actual Yoshi egg. Better be the real one this time, I can't take another heartbreak. So let's go spray him down. It looks like this egg wants some bananas, so let's go get some. And Yoshi! Yes, this is Yoshi's 3D Mario debut, and like in Super Mario World, acts in the same manner of being a power-up you can find in pretty much every area. Yoshi and Mario Sunshine is pretty awesome, but damn is there so much wasted opportunity here. Of course, Yoshi can obviously move and jump around, and to start on a positive note, his jump is amazing. I mean it, especially with his spin jump, he can reach some insane heights. He can't wall jump or side somersaults as you'd expect, but you never need to worry about that since the level design never really asks that of you. However, since you can't use FLUDD, he compensates for it by...
Sick!
So instead of shooting water, you're now shooting out Yoshi's fruit water from his stomach, and take that for what you will. However, while disgusting based on how you look at it, I think it's a really clever FLUDD workaround, and the color of the juice will even change based on the fruit you feed him. So Yoshi really likes fruit in this game. But the catch is that now it's his life force full stop. When you see an egg, it'll ask for a specific root, and depending on said fruit, Yoshi himself and his juice will become a different color ranging from orange, pink, and purple. And then he'll briefly turn green before he evaporates. And why does he evaporate? Well, you have to keep feeding him over time with his juice meter doubling as his capacity and life force. It's also even stranger since all of the art of Yoshi made for this game has him as green, when you can't actually do that in game. This is a change I don't really mind as much, but one feature I do mind is... So Yoshi can't swim in this game, like, at all, full stop. I don't understand this design decision at all, which is why episode 8 of Rico Harbor, Yoshi's Fruit Adventure, is quite infamous in this game. I don't want to talk about this level, but it's quite famous on the internet for bad reasons, and I'll leave it at that. I mean, on Mario Wiki it says that Yoshis were made by the brush of Bowser Jr., but that sounds like such a cop-out to me for we need some in-universe reason for this to happen. But that's stupid since Yoshi can perfectly swim in literally any other game. Well, at the very least, since they took the time to add Yoshi, surely it's got lots of uses in this game. He's literally only used for 5 shines. That's it, and maybe like 10 blue coins max. Like, come on, man, that's barely anything. And 3 of those 5 shines are some of the most notorious in the entire game. That's so lame. It makes me even more grateful for his appearance in Galaxy 2. But hey, despite his extreme underutilization, I'm still really glad he's here, and especially glad since he makes so much sense with the Tropical Island theme. Back to Peanut Park though, Episode 5, the Runaway Ferris Wheel. See, you're supposed to go behind the Ferris wheel here and do this little obstacle course here, but here's a little tip for you guys watching. Simply go up here and just hover all the way over here and squeeze through the Ferris wheel segments. Go up here and knock off this giant electric Koopa, which for whatever reason makes the Ferris wheel slow down. Alright, that's it! Episode 6, the Yoshi Go Round Secret. The one attraction I didn't mention in Peanut Park. It's a merry-go-round, but with Yoshis. You have to get the correct fruit for Yoshi, then immediately make him orange so we can go in the missing slot here to get to the secret level. It's nothing crazy, but I appreciate the smart little puzzle here. The secret level itself is alright, continuing the Yoshi's Island inspired background. Episode 7, Shadow Mario. Episode 8, Roller Coaster Balloons. Man, what a high note to end on for this level. I know this episode isn't everyone's cup of tea, but I think it's a really smart reuse of the roller coaster from episode 1, and I think it's just really fun, and a cool little gameplay shift becoming a third-person on-rails shooter of sorts for a bit, in a creative way that doesn't feel shoehorned in either. Peanut Park is just such a cool level, man. In a perfect world, I wish they'd recreate Peanut Park at Universal Studios. Just imagine how awesome that would be. So just like Yoshi's, once you're in Peanut Park and start getting that shine count up, is when you also unlock the rest of the nozzles for Delfino Plaza, the Turbo Nozzle and the Rocket Nozzle. So let's talk about them a little bit, and let's start with this one. The Turbo Nozzle is conceptually awesome. Letting Mario reach high speeds on the ground and the water kinda reminded me of another game, and the nozzle effect by Mario in the water looks really cool. Unfortunately, like Yoshi, it is very, very, very underutilized. Only needed for very, very few shines and blue coins. I mean, it's definitely the weakest option for platforming, but given more dev time, there could have been a lot more better uses for it. On the other hand, we have my favorite nozzle of the 3, the Rocket Nozzle. This nozzle stores the water for a sec and then blasts Mario into the air, being the clear winner for anything involving verticality. I just have so much fun using the rocket nozzle, blasting off to travel across the level quickly, and while it doesn't have a lot of specific shines for it, it has so much more practical use than the turbo nozzle. With so many of these levels having verticality built into them far more than Mario 64 usually did, having the rocket nozzle here to get back up really fast is incredibly useful. The 3 different nozzles here act as this game's power-ups. They all function the same, of course, using the water pack, but once you grab one, you're stuck with that specific nozzle in the basic spraying, meaning you don't get to use another nozzle until you grab it again. While I think having all these nozzles accessible would have been a nice permanent upgrade option, all these here still make for an extremely versatile Mario in my opinion, and are absolutely a step up from the special caps of the last game, even if the nozzles definitely vary in usefulness. So after Peanut Park, with all the nozzles and Yoshi unlocked, this is where the game actually opens up a bit more. You still gotta chase Shadow Mario in episode 7 of the last 3 areas before Corona Mountain, but you can do these 3 areas in any order you want as far as I know, since you should definitely have enough shines by this point. So let's talk about them in the order I always play them in, starting with Serena Beach with episode 1, the Manta Storm. Easily one of the standout moments of the game for me. So yeah, the second area with beach in its title, but don't be quick to write this level off. Serena Beach is a really cool area to be in, consisting of the beach outside, and on the inside you go and explore Hotel Delfino. What a cool setting. Exploring a hotel is such a cool idea, and they take full advantage of it. But let's not get ahead of ourselves, because where is the hotel? Starting this level, I just want to turn around and look at the simply beautiful sunset this level has. It's so peaceful, the music being both super calming and very slightly haunting. It gives off the vibe that as beautiful as it is, there's just something off about it too. Anyway, yeah, the hotel has vanished and all that's left is a big blob of electric goop. Talking to the hotel manager will trigger the Manta to enter the level, leaving behind a big trail of electric goop leading to one of the most memorable and to an extent difficult shines of the game. The entire beach is the arena now, leaving you to do what you do to solve all your problems in this game and spray it with water. I wish I could do that with my problems. Spraying it will cause the Manta to divide in two, and the process keeps repeating as they get smaller and smaller, with most of the challenge coming from the sheer number of them, and that all of those tiny ones will also leave their own electric goop trails. And I mean it, man, don't get caught in their trails, because touching like one drop of the stuff will just... Eventually, splitting all of them will make them all home in on you, which actually makes the fight easier. Spraying and killing every last one of them will then end the fight, and the hotel is literally resurfaced. This fight is super cool for me, unlike anything else in this game. Yeah, for first timers, this fight will kick you when you're down. But as I said before, I like the challenge when it's well designed, and as a big Splatoon fan, seeing this entire fight get one big huge reference in the Splatoon 3 main campaign made that one of the coolest moments for me in that game, make me love the Manta Storm that much more. Episode 2, the Hotel Lobby Secret. Another secret level, but here is when you first go into the hotel and find it filled with booze. So the fact that not only are you exploring a hotel, but a haunted hotel at that, is just the icing on the cake for me. The obstacle course is pretty fun, I don't have much to say about it, it's just well designed, and nothing crazy about it. Just be careful on this one platform, this is where the physics can get a little weird sometimes. Episode 3, Mysterious Hotel Delfino. This episode is definitely the most involved mission of this area, as you explore nearly the entire hotel from top to bottom, casino aside, in a quest to find pineapples to get Yoshi. See, this jerk of a Pianta here won't let you in the pool, which already isn't helping players that don't like the Piantas. Anyway, through the men's bathroom, you go through this ceiling, go across a series of mini rooms with bite-sized puzzles, and eventually get the pineapple. Once you get Yoshi, you can now go up into the air vents above the top floor. Use him to eat these giant sleeping boos, and slam through the right cracked vent to get the shine. My only problem is that I think the mission is a bit too cryptic for kids, since the opening sequence doesn't help at all, it's just the hotel. But that aside, I actually think it's a really cool and ideal mission. This mission also shows us the camera at its worst. Like, especially when you're constantly moving across different floors, it's not like impossible to see, but I feel it can act very strange. It's unfortunate since while I didn't bring it up earlier, the camera in Mario Sunshine is only 1,000 times better than it was in Mario 64. Sure, it's not perfect, it can still get stuck sometimes, and completely not cooperate at very particular moments. Also, to this day, I have no idea why this circle shows up, but by and large, it is so much better than before, and having it fully rotatable with the C stick as opposed to C buttons makes it that much more natural. Episode 4, The Secret of Casino Delfino. Heading down here, we get to hear Luigi's Casino from Mario 64 DS, which is awesome, and down here we have to play slots, and if this game taught kids anything, it's to never play slots, especially the third one because just... oh. And then for the red coin mission, you have to play slots again! It's so... oh! Still though, having a casino in the hotel is a cool idea. I just wish the execution for the slots wasn't so annoying. Episode 5, King Boo Down Below. The first time in the main series Mario fights King Boo. And no, this is Big Boo, and this is King Boo. The fight itself, well, it's certainly different. See, he plays slots in the boss fight, very fitting for the casino. And when you win fruits, you have to throw a pepper at him, and then immediately throw another different fruit at him. Rinse and repeat 2 more times, and it's done. Well, that's different. Episode 6, Scrubbing Serena Beach. Now I like this level, another time challenge, I like it, but this, kids, is what we also like to call padding. Episode 7, Episode 8, Red Coins in the Hotel. Yeah, I got nothing to say here. I should also mention that, as stated before, the blue coins are horrible in this level. Way too many episode specific, and way too many spraying random bits of furniture. But besides that, I find this a pretty solid level with some really great ideas. Following Serena Beach, we have Noki Bay. See, by simply standing here, the game pleases Mario 64 fans everywhere by... yeah, that's pretty awesome. Anyway, Noki Bay, and wow, I just gotta say this now, this has to be the most beautiful level in the entire game. The art design completely comes together here, and it's so vibrant and beautiful. You'll be platforming up ancient ruins and gigantic seashells. It's so awesome. The area itself does feel a bit disconnected from the rest of the game, as you can only see Corona Mountain, and the only time you can see this area in other levels is the absolute highest point of the island right here. That's not a problem though, since this level is so distinct and even has its own race. The Nokis, with their name in the title of the level, live here, and like the Piantas, would make their way into other spin-off titles as well. It's always cool to see new races in Mario games aside from the same old same old. This is also another area that tells a bit of a story, with the first 4 episodes connecting together leading us to episode 1, Uncork the Waterfall. Upon arriving, we find that despite the water being beautiful, it is absolutely beyond polluted, and after talking to this old shrimp, we have to find the source of what's causing the water pollution, and our first goal is heading to the top of this place to uncork the waterfall from this jerk. Defeating this guy causes the waterfall to be freed. I just want to bring up how awesome the water effect looks here. Just look at it! Episode 2, The Boss of Tricky Ruins. The old man Noki tells us he has a theory about stopping the water pollution, and that's to find the Shine Sprite in the ruins of Noki Bay. To do this, we have to climb this part of Noki Bay, and by spraying these squares, we are terraforming the land! A pretty cool idea for platforming, just don't waste any time making your way up. Also, while you're out here, you'll find the same bears from the house in Delfino Plaza and... oh, don't worry, I had plenty to say about this boat later. Once we reach the top, we fight Gooper Blooper yet again, and why is he up here?
Well, why is this video taking so long?
Bam, blop, kablooey, he's dead. Go down here, shine. Episode 3, Red Coins in a Bottle. It's another red coin mission, but this one's actually pretty cool. The old man tells us that he has discovered the true problem, and it's their ancestors invading their home, in the form of a giant eel that we have to do something about. But he gives us a special helmet which doesn't let us swim indefinitely, but does let you hold your breath a lot longer. And he sends us into the bottle to train with this before the fight. Still though, at the end of the day, man, it's just red coins. So moving on to episode 4, Illy Mouth Dentist. Fellas, this honestly might be the best mission in this entire game. Not the most fun mission, but it feels like all of Mario Sunshine's best gameplay ideas all converge into this one level. In this mission, you have to travel down to the bottom of the waterfall, leading you to Noki Bay's ocean floor, which kind of looks like an ancient city. After sinking for a bit, with some poison bubbles to avoid on the way, the eel will reveal himself, and he is a big boy with some horrible teeth. To win the fight, you have to use Flood to literally spray his teeth with water until they either shine pearly white or fall out. This is such a memorable point in the game for me. I mean, using Flood to literally brush a giant eel's teeth and have it be both exciting and act as a boss fight is so creative and interesting. Episode 5, Il Piantissimo Surf Swim. A rematch with Il Piantissimo, not much to say here. Episode 6, The Shell's Secret. Probably the most difficult secret level in the game. In a good way! Anyway, yeah, this level is actually pretty tough. I don't really mess up, most from years of experience. But this part here, where you have to double wall kick your way up to the next platform, I'm sure gonna give a lot of kids a hard time. Episode 7, Episode 8, The Red Coin Fish. Not a ton to say here, it is just a red coin mission after all. But man, the music here is so good. And I'm shocked it's only in this one mission. I'll let you guys listen for a sec. Overall, Noki Bay is a really good level. I don't have any major complaints besides some of the blue coins, which is that they aren't annoying to grab or super hidden, but like half of them are over in the ruins on the left side of the level, which isn't important to a single episode besides this bird, which in a weird way, I find kind of hilarious. It's like this whole third of the level was created literally just to put blue coins in.
Okay, so we're really winding down to the end. Surely things are gonna end on a high note, right? Right?
Now, before we discuss the final main area, Pianta Village, I want to take us back to Delfino Plaza and discuss its own shines, both good and... you guys know. Most of these are actually not so bad though. You have this one here with the turbo nozzle, this red coin challenge you can find at the very corner of Delfino Plaza with individual blades of grass. Okay, this tiny slide level in the other corner that I actually played a lot when I was little. You get these 2 shines from breaking this guy's crate, which technically makes him a criminal. Pay this guy 1 coin to throw you into a building with a shine. This obstacle course with the turbo nozzle in the police station, which is fun. And finally, break this stone on top of the lighthouse with the rocket nozzle. On the right side of Delfino Plaza, you get 1 from the lone island by shooting another yellow bird, and 1 from spraying this particular spot on the beach. After a certain event happens at the end of the game, you can also revisit the airstrip with a fun red coin challenge, and then you also have your 100 coin shine, of course. And then you get 3 shines by cleaning the bells on both sides of Delfino Plaza, and then 1 that you've definitely been wanting to get the entire game. Finally cleaning the shine gate. Every time I play this game, I intentionally get the shine gate as my last shine before the final boss, since I feel it's very fitting. And then we have 2 very, very special shines to talk about. Okay, let's get this over with. Let's start with Pachinko. Want to know what Pachinko is? It's an arcade gambling game you can mainly find in Japan with some similarities to pinball. But let me stress this more. It's a gambling game. Why do I bring this up? Because they made a horrible level of Mario Sunshine about it. Look, I'll be straight here. I did do this shine in one try in my footage for the video, but I will not excuse how bad this shine is. So it's a red coin challenge. Big shock, I know. So what you do is get in this little column here, jump on the trampoline, and the second you do, Mario's physics entirely change, leading you to one of the 6 holes in the machine. Why is it bad? Because the game takes nearly all the control away from you, and if you die, which is very easy to do, you have to start the entire thing over again! This level is easily one of the most, if not the most infamous level in the entire game, because let's be honest here, it just is. So luck-based, and not even in the fun way. It feels designed to not be fun, mostly due to the physics engine feeling like it's about to tear in half with its clunky design. Well, at least when you die, you get to restart the mission. Since it sure would suck if there was a shine that took you all the way back to Delfino Plaza. Oh, wait! So, what everyone calls the lily pad shine. So by this point in the game, you've probably been wondering what's in this pipe the entire game. Only one problem. It's covered in crap only Yoshi can get rid of, but as we know, Yoshi is allergic to water in this game. So Daniel...
What? My drink!
How do you get over there? So what you have to do is get Yoshi and sit on the ships that go around Delfino Plaza and avoid all water. Now in all honesty, I don't get mad over it since I know what I'm doing, but this is just mindless busy work just to get this shine, and we haven't even gotten to the shine yet. And what is this shine? Another red coin mission, only you're now in this random lake in the sky, and you have to ride and steer this lily pad while collecting the coins without falling in water, because if you do... Yep, the water's poison. And the worst part to me is that if you don't get them all, you see this pipe at the end. If you take this pipe, you will be sent all the way back to Delfino Plaza, and you have to do the entire process all over again. Now in the footage you'll see I didn't do this because I have stuff to do today, but this just feels like a slap in the face to the player. If anything, everything about this level just feels insulting, if anything. Like, I really want to know the thought process behind this. So yeah, the 2 absolute bottom of the barrel shines in this game. But believe it or not, guys, it's still not my least favorite mission. Blue coins aren't so bad though. I wouldn't even call a single one of them actually hard to find. Some are a bit tedious, sure, but I do now have to award Delfino Plaza for having the single most agonizing blue coin in the entire game. So don't want to do this. Okay, now I just gotta kick it. Nope, no, not that way, nope! Ah! How did you even get over here? Like, what? There we go, just, wait. Where'd it go? It's gone, bro! Okay, just to kick it across this. No, you missed! Okay, it's right in the house, just gotta get it out and... What? Where'd it go? What? Where'd it go? Did it just... What? I hope you're happy, you piece of crap. Okay, with all that said, let's finally move on to Pianta Village. Look, not gonna be around the bush here. Probably my favorite level in the game. It gives off some hazy maze cave vibes for me and has such a sense of adventure to it. Like Noki Bay, there are very few man-made structures, and this whole area takes place on top of a giant tree. That's so cool. The music also feels very distinct from the rest of the areas, with less of a tropical vibe and more like a jungle or safari feel to it. Though strangely enough, arguably it also feels like the most thrown together area of the main 7. Anyway, episode 1, Chain Chomplets Unchained. Like the episode says, we have Chain Chomps to deal with, also being the only area with Chain Chomps period. Awesome. Anyway, we have 3 small Chain Chomps running around the village with all of them spreading fire goop. So you spray them until they fizzle out, grab them by the tail, and make them slam face first into the lake. Oh my god! That is not pet friendly at all, Flood. Man, I gotta say though, between the mushroom here and the lake, this level really pops out at night. It's visually delightful. But what's that? I said at night? Yes, because in episode 2 we get one more race with Il Pontissimo, and now it is daytime. So it's nighttime in all the odd number missions and vice versa, which is a really cool touch. Now for episode 3, the Goopy Inferno. The one and only floodless mission, not a secret mission. You lose your flood right away, and the entire village is covered in fiery goop. So what you're supposed to do is go to the village underside and do some finagling here, but instead... And then with the almighty triple jump, you'll land exactly where you need to be, spray the mirror, and boom, shine. Speaking of that village underside though, yeah, this is a whole part of the level. Surprisingly, there isn't a ton they use with it though, but I like that this level has like 3 levels in it between the underside, main village, and the top of the giant trees. Episode 4, Chain Chomp's Bath. Similar idea to Mission 1, except now it's a gigantic Chain Chomp you get into this bath in the back of the village. And this is the closest this area gets to having a boss. Which is kind of unfortunate, but I can excuse that. Now for my bread and butter. Episode 5, Secret of the Village Underside. There are only 3 things certain in life: death, taxes, and Secret of the Village Underside being my absolute least favorite mission in the entire Mario franchise. When I said this feels like the most thrown together level of the 7, that statement is no more obvious than this mission. So, let's talk about it. So you need Yoshi to go down here to these mushrooms at the bottom of the level featuring a troll 1-up, truly a sign of things to come. Simply use Yoshi's juice to get rid of the crap and head inside. You'll see a whole bunch of piantas and platforms put very far away from each other. So what do you have to do? Talk to the pianta and they'll throw you to the platform. This is awful. So you have to talk to them at the right position and or at the right time, or the following may happen. This is just so stupid. Not only is the camera sometimes just bad here altogether, but there isn't even any angle things shown to show your trajectory or anything. Just talk to them at the right time and position and pray for dear life. You know, as bad as those 2 shines in Delfino Plaza are, at worst you still have some control on where you go. Keyword some. They're still built around you platforming, but just... no. It's worse that this is the final secret level when most of them have been good too, meaning the secret levels end on a wet fart of a farewell. Okay, that's enough negativity. Let's do a fun mission now. Episode 6, Piantas in Need. Pretty simple. 10 Piantas are trapped in goop across the village, and you have 3 minutes to get them out and spray them clean. Simple, but fun. Now I'm going to skip to episode 8 and back to 7 because reasons. So episode 8, the Red Coin Fluff Festival. Yes, one last red coin mission to end things off, but I really like this one. The coins are placed in clever spots all over the village, and the music is such a vibe. And then the episode ends with you high in the sky. This spot right here is the highest point on the entire island, minus Corona Mountain. You can see Piana Park, Gelato Beach, Noki Bay, and Corona Mountain from here. Just don't fall at the very end here. And that's Pianta Village. A lot of simple objectives, but a really good time all the same. So back to episode 7 with one final Shadow Mario chase. From here, with episode 7 finally complete in every area, we cut back to Delfino Plaza with Shadow Mario heading into the now unlocked Corona Mountain, and cuts to the entirety of Delfino Plaza flooded. Why does this happen? I don't know. But if you talk to some people stranded on the roofs, they say that a ton of rainfall happened, which I would have really liked to see. A huge missed opportunity there. Anyway, check this out. Following Shadow Mario inside, we finally enter Corona Mountain, the final area of Mario Sunshine. The music's intense, there's lava everywhere, and this kind of blows, to be honest. Don't get me wrong, the atmosphere is very fitting for a final challenge, but the challenge itself, ugh. I mean, starting off, it's not so bad. You have some spikes and fire platforms to make your way through, and one blue coin here. Okay. And here's where everything comes crashing down. This boat. Every Mario Sunshine player is aware of how bad this boat is. So what you have to do is maneuver it with FLUDD through pumping water, very, very carefully avoiding these lava spires and anything else in the path. This is just bad. It's bad enough that hitting anything with the lightest touch causes the boat to immediately sink on impact, but the game didn't prepare you for this at all. I mean, yeah, it is in Noki Bay, but it's not even remotely close to being required for a damn thing in that level. If maybe it was in a couple levels, or like just 2 or 3 maybe, teaching you how to properly use this boat, I think it'd be a better challenge, but even then, this thing still controls terribly, which is so jarring when the other 99% of the game controls like a dream. And then we have the blue coins of Corona Mountain. There are 10 blue coins to gain here, 1 early on, and the other 9 using the damn boat again! Maneuvering around here is just anxiety filled with dread. With so many spires in the way, you can see me here just barely shooting water every second to slowly inch my way around it. And if you die, you start all the way back at the beginning. Man, based on the past few minutes, it's so clear this game is running on fumes, just barely crossing the finish line in quality. And it makes me sad because Corona Mountain was supposed to be an entire level earlier in development, but got cut down to this tiny, lame final challenge. And in 2023, it's worse because now it shares the name with that thing that happened in 2020 that we don't talk about. But anyway, with all 240 blue coins in our possession, trading them all in, we have 119 shines in our possession, with the final shines at the top of Corona Mountain. Simply grab the rocket nozzle, head up into the clouds, and we hear...
The water's great, hey, Junior?
Sure is, Papa. Come on in, Mama Peach. I think not. Mario! You again? Don't you ever give up?
Mario! How dare you disturb my family vacation?
A very different Bowser voice from what I was expecting. He sounds like a pirate if anything, but I actually kind of like his voice in this scene. It's later that things get a little more questionable. Anyway, yeah, we finally see Bowser looking so much better than last game. But I gotta say, this has to be quite possibly the least villainous Bowser of all time spin-offs aside. I mean, he's literally just hanging out in the hot tub. As I said before, Bowser Jr. is clearly the main villain. The final battle itself is really nothing special if I'm being honest. But I do definitely like the atmosphere, and the music is really good. I feel like I hear the music over. Also, FLUDD begins to malfunction as the fight goes on, which to this day, I still don't understand why that happens. But whatever, simply smash the 5 pillars, the hot tub flips over, and now we get to see the ending. What a final boss! Mario and Peach land on one of the small islands on the outskirts of Isle Delfino, featuring a blue coin that I already collected reappearing. But unfortunately, Flood was damaged in the fight, leading him to dying. Why is the Ferris wheel red?
Mario, was I
But on a brighter note, pun not intended, the final shine sprite goes back to the gate. And I gotta say, this whole final scene reminds me that even with all the dumb stuff this game has, all my hard work feels like it really pays off in this scene. It makes me feel like I accomplished a lot. We also cut to Bowser and Bowser Jr. reflecting on their loss, with Jr. knowing the horrifying emotional truth the whole time, and vowing to fight Mario again, which does technically lead to the next game, so I'm glad he wasn't a one-and-done character, though with more hilarious voice acting from Bowser.
Junior, I've got something difficult to tell you about Princess Peach. That's my boy.
In our final scene, we find Mario and Peach at that beautiful sunset on Serena Beach, with Flood fully repaired announcing,
The vacation starts now.
ending Super Mario Sunshine. This credits montage of their vacation pics is a pretty nice touch though. So over 20 years after this game is out, why do I still love it so much despite how much I just criticized it? Well, let me get this first part out of the way. It is most certainly nostalgia to some extent, I won't even try to deny that. But even if I put all my memories of it to the side, yeah, there is a lot wrong with this game. I will never deny that this is a hot mess 100%. But for all its faults, I think it still gets so much right and definitely weighs out the bad. A lot of its ideas are so good that it saves the game from objectively being just below average. And at the very least, it is absolutely memorable, even if it's not always for the right reasons. When I'm playing this game, yeah, I can feel the pressure the Mario team was under, not only having to rush the game for the GameCube, but I feel the pressure the team was under to follow up Super Mario 64, one of the most revolutionary games ever. And in some ways, they did crack under the pressure, but that's okay too. I know so many fans out there didn't like this at the time because they simply wanted another game just like Mario 64. And I do get that, and for Nintendo, that would have been the easy way out. But they wanted to do something new, something bold, and something to legitimately push the series forward, and I have all the respect in the world for that. It's ambitious, that's for sure, and it's hard to take risks, but if you don't take risks, you'll never evolve. And while I'm not at all calling this game a failure sometimes, you need failure in order to find success. As I said before, in the years since, a lot of people have come around in Sunshine, and some even declared it the best 3D Mario game. And while I still love this game, I definitely wouldn't say that. It's not even my favorite game either. But I still come back to it all the time and will continue to do so, because at the end of the day, they still made a really fun video game. Looking at it critically and objectively, it's the weakest 3D Mario game without a doubt. I get that. It's okay to be mad, angry, or sad in the moment. But looking back, it's clear the developers really wanted to make something special, and tried as hard as they could to deliver a great game under such circumstances. And I think some of us need to appreciate what Mario Sunshine and the devs did to push the series forward, rather than where it stumbles. I know I've said it 1,000 times at this point, but I love Super Mario Sunshine. It's not my favorite Mario game, but I absolutely recommend you give it a shot if you haven't already, at least up to defeating Bowser. Everything after that, all I'll say is that is completely up to you, because remember, you don't get jack for doing everything, but it can still be a lot of fun. This game will live with me for the rest of my life, and I applaud it. I think at this time of year, so many of us can get wrapped up in the expectations of Christmas and presents and results, without actually thinking about what our friends and family may have gone through to make something happen. And I think this game can teach us that. While sometimes in the holidays things may not go always according to plan, we have to appreciate the effort and passion that people go through to still try to give us those moments.
You know, with a game like this, it's okay if they made mistakes as long as they learn from them. And with Nintendo, it's very clear that they learned from these mistakes, which is where we'll discuss Mario next. This is a damn good game. Look, guys, I think we can take away from this game is that we may have not had the time or the money or the budget, which is the same as money, but we still rapped a lot. Let's just take what we got and try to have a great Christmas. What do you guys think?
You know, you're right, Dan. At the end of the day, that's what the holidays are really all about. Learning lessons, being with the ones you love, and I got to spend it with you guys, so I'm thankful.
Oh, oh yeah, man.
I concur, my guy.
Yeah! John?
What's up, guys?
Who are you?
I heard you guys are trying to throw an awesome Christmas party, so I bought you some gifts.
John? Thanks, John. Oh boy, I hope it's a PS5.
And this is for you, Josh.
Oh man, I hope it's a banana.
And Daniel, this is for you.
Thanks, John. You really didn't have to give me anything, but the fact that you got me anything at all, I'm very happy about. And let's be real, guys. We may have not got what we wanted for Christmas, but it's the thought that counts. Am I right?
You know, you're right, Dan. It really is a thought that counts. Right, Josh?
And I'm sure that whatever I get, I'm gonna be happy with. All right, let's see what's in this bad boy. Woo! John, are you joking? Are you joking? I'm gonna kill you!
Sorry!